I say ideas because when I say climate change, of course climate change is happening. That doesn't take a rip in Einstein. It's always happened. It's the man-made or impacted. How much have we impacted that climate change, and is it through CO2, carbon emissions? And when we look at that evidence and you draw a correlation, or even as some have, including the earth have a fever, Al Gore, sad. He would be sad if it wasn't so sad and pathetic that the mainstream media has done everything they can to protect him after the foundation of his argument and his exaggerations have been exposed. And the reason those are exposed, I'm talking about, because the Earth's temperature has flatlined for the last 17 plus years. And the reason it's been exposed and people know about that is because we have people like Jim Hoft. Now, Jim Hoft is a longtime friend. He's part of Nothing But Truth. He really is. He's just amazing in what he's done. Everything, go back to Katrina and the coverage there. He's an award-winning journalist / blogger, and he is the Gateway Pundit, critically acclaimed Gateway Pundit. It's a site I visit daily, multiple times, and you can see by the clips I use, oftentimes, oh, that's Gateway Pundit. He's put him there. He has recently launched another project. Extraordinary. How does he do it? Well, he goes through a health challenge. He beats it and fights it. Praise the Lord. And then comes out the other side with Progressives Today, which has 2 links from the Drudge Report today. Now, if you're looking for someone who has changed media and the way news is consumed and provided for more nothing but truth to be out there, look no further than my friend and our friend, Jim Hoft. He joins us now. Jim, welcome back. Great to be with you.
Thank you so much, Train. It's great to be with you.
Always. Let me ask you this. Here's the president this weekend, and I'll tell you, every time I hear this and play it and see it, I see what you have written and exposed regarding the people standing next to him, Bo Bergdahl's parents, specifically his father. But here's the announcement. Roll it.
As part of this effort, the United States is transferring 5 detainees from the prison in Guantanamo Bay to Qatar. The Qatari government has given us assurances that it will put in place measures to protect our national security. I also want to express gratitude to the Afghan government, which has always supported our efforts to secure Bo's release. Going forward, the United States will continue to support an Afghan-led process of reconciliation, which could help secure a hard-earned peace within a sovereign and unified Afghanistan. As I said earlier this week, we're committed to winding down the war in Afghanistan, and we are committed to closing Gitmo. But we also made an ironclad commitment to bring our prisoners of war home. That's who we are as Americans. It's a profound obligation within our military, and today, at least in this instance, it's a promise we've been able to keep.
Let's begin with Bo Bergdahl and what happened. How was he captured? Understand, and I'm going to say this at the outset, I obviously want our soldiers in terrorist hands to be freed and taken care of. And I don't wish any harm upon Bo Bergdahl at all, in the fact that I'm sure he's been through a tremendous ordeal that I can't even fathom, and so many of us can't. But there are surrounding circumstances to this that look at policy and how we go about the release of freeing our soldiers from terrorists, and also part of how we protect our soldiers in the future. Jim Hoft, my question to you is, what should people know about Bo Bergdahl and how he was captured?
Thanks, Train, again.
Yes.
This is such a bizarre story, isn't it? Turning into something that's just so strange. And that is, what we know now is that Bo Bergdahl had sent out some emails to his parents before he walked off in the dead of night, left his platoon, and left his men, and deserted his position, and went to join the Taliban. There's actually some reports that he asked some locals where he could find the Taliban. He also wrote his parents that week before he deserted, and really deserted isn't the right word. He actually deserted his post and then joined the enemy. So it's really not desertion. It's more
Okay, real quick,
switching
Jim,
sides,
on that
you
point.
know?
Yeah, on that point.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, who's using the terms deserted and with the information of him asking for the Taliban? You said report. So I want to be judicious in the fact of,
Right.
okay, these statements are being made because I know that you've looked at the people that have actually gone out and have fallen or died in trying to get his release. I mean, our soldiers, his fellow soldiers.
Yeah.
So go ahead, please, as you go about
Okay.
telling this,
Well,
go ahead. Yes.
The New York Daily Post
Yes.
actually wrote this extensive piece today. It's a must-read about the last couple of days before he disappeared. And that's where they talked about him deserting. The Daily Mail out of London, they also wrote another post today about one of the men who actually died searching for Bo Bergdahl. His family is speaking out now, and they're very upset that this guy's being considered some kind of hero when their son died trying to find this guy who deserted his post. So it's also in the Daily Mail and several other places. It's really it seems like it's public knowledge now that this guy left his post. He wasn't captured. He just walked off in the middle of the night. An interesting thing in that clip that you played, Crane, and that is one of the first things Obama said is that we're going to turn and then let me get the quote exact. He says, the Qatari government has given us assurances that we'll put in place measures to protect our national security. Isn't that such a bizarre thing for a president to say that he's putting the trust of our national security in the hands of Qatar, of all places? And I have a post up right now that's also on the Drudge Report, and that's that these 5 terrorists landed in Qatar today, and they are celebrated. They're hugging everyone, and the word is that there's no security around. There's no evidence that they're under custody. So it looks like they're just free to roam right now, as far as what we're seeing from the a video that's coming from their welcome home celebration. So it's just a very strange situation.
It is very strange. It is also strange of the messages and tweets that have been posted and some that are one that has been deleted. You have been ahead of the game as always, Jim. You really are. Tell me, what's going on with Mr. Bergdahl, Bo's father?
Right. Don't you wish? I mean, there's a saying, trying to figure out something that's going on in a crazy person's head is a very dangerous place to be.
Amen.
And this parent of Bo Bergdahl, he has a few issues himself. Of course, he praised Allah when he heard the news, and that was in the White House that he did that. And then he goes home and he deletes a tweet where earlier in the week last week, he was saying that God will repay for the death of every Afghan child that was lost. And he ends it with Amin. And so that's a bit disturbing. And then last night he sent out another tweet where he's asking for the U.S. government to release even more Gitmo terrorists. So a very strange situation coming from the parent of POW.
So we have that. We have pretty much we've taken our national security and put it in the hands of the Qatar government, and then we have soldiers that have been killed who have tried to rescue Mr. Bergdahl. Your thoughts on their sacrifice? You mentioned it originally, the story from the Daily Mail, but just go back to that because there are 5 soldiers that we know of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on the record, that were killed in attempting to rescue this man.
We know of at least 5 and possibly 6 that were were killed who were searching for Bo Bergdahl. So we also know that these terrorists that were released, one of them is responsible for killing around 1,000 Shiites during his reign of terror in Afghanistan. The Shiites, of course, are the minority Muslim community there. So some very bad people, and some of our heroes have already been lost, and we pray that we won't lose any more to these killers.
Tell me, Jim, you've done a lot of coverage of Gitmo and the detainees and the jihadists, and you've just mentioned the fact is as they were welcomed. To see the videos is just amazing. And Brian Ross, of all folks, but he gets this one right, it seems, because he is characterizing it appropriately from what we see in the pictures, certainly. But these jihadists, does that give you pause to maybe ask, when are they going to ask for the blind sheik, who's not a Gitmo, but is in our prison system, certainly?
Right, absolutely. We don't know when that's coming. We also know it's important for your listeners too, I believe, and that is that at least 27% of these people that we've released from Gitmo go back to a life of terror. So that's just something to think about right now as we start releasing some of these really hardcore killers that are left at Gitmo. So we haven't heard the last of these people that we've released. And God help us for these mistakes of this administration.
Jim, with the amount of news that comes out, I don't know how you cover it all. We are grateful for you doing that. You've done the profile of the people. You're always about the soldiers. And tell me, Jim, in your reporting on this story, you got a lot of feedback from them. Would you mind, in general, just telling me, one, if that's true, you got some feedback about the feelings of soldiers who are serving, sitting there going, wait a second, this man's being turned into a hero. They certainly gave pause to that.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a lot of furious people out there, soldiers' families, and as I said, the heroes who passed away, their families are very upset about this story and about this development here from Gitmo to Afghanistan.
And finally, Jim, just in the remaining moments, real quick, it's off the main story that we're covering, but these EPA regulations, this is not a small deal. If there are going to be headlines, of course, Bergdahl release and Guantanamo Gitmo detainees release, big headline, absolutely, but another big headline in light of the economic news that we've had for the last 6+ years and the promise is broken. The EPA regulations, no small thing, are they?
Correct, Crane. And what we know is that these regulations that the Obama administration pushed through today through executive order, what that's going to do is it's going to hurt the poor and the middle class in this country significantly. And I put a post up about that, and that is that these people who are elite and wanting to pass all this global warming legislation, they're only paying 1 or 2% of their income into energy costs. But the poor and middle class are spending at least 20% of their income into energy and keeping their houses heated and cooled. And so they're the ones who are going to be hurt the most with this legislation.
Jim, we know you are always keeping the eye on it, and you're doing the job the Fourth Estate was designed to do, and we appreciate you. Keep up the great work. Hopefully we'll have time to check in sometime later on this week and get more updates. Thank you so much for working around the clock, man, because it's...
Thank you, Crane.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for your generosity. I appreciate it.
Always nothing but truth. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. So I just posted that link up on the Facebook page. Please do me a favor, or do yourself a favor, and like the page and check out nothingbutTruth.com. But this is to give you some perspective. Speaking of perspective, on the flip side of the break, we're going to be speaking to the professor. But he's on Fridays normally, yes. But he was out of town, and we've had the opportunity to get him today. Professor Bruce Thornton, he's a scholar, a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, and he has written about the history of negotiating with terrorists for hostages. What has it yielded? He details. If you're wanting to know the background of these types of policies and what they've led to, past becomes prologue, and we will see it. Because history may not repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. He touches on Iran-Contra. So if you think this is just one way with, oh, we're going to ignore, this is not about politics. This is about the reality of bad policy, and he details it. And then at the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Hans von Spakovsky, breaking down the legal consequences of this type of action. What do you mean consequences? Well, there is law in regard to these types of decisions. And there's a big question if President Obama broke the law. There's a big question. I thought it pretty much everybody agrees he did break the law. Yeah, you're right. Excuse me. Let me say this. President Obama's administration broke the law. We'll ask Hans von Spakovsky how serious this is, and can it be explained by context? That's all ahead. Bruce Thornton next. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, AFR Talk.